Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hilary, and I have Eric with me today. Hi, Eric.
Hi, everybody. Back from the Savage Land.
Back from the Savage Lands. Did you see Xavier and Magneto this time?
I did, but they were talking to Amphibious, and I didn't want to be rude.
You don't want to interrupt. You don't want to get in on that. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Eric, our listeners have missed you. Did you see on Twitter there have been people being like, where's Eric?
I did not see that. Well,
Yes.
now I have to go do that as you read the intro.
You can go find that. Don't worry, Eric will be back for all of our animated series episodes, but we've opened up our co-host I always want to say stable, our stable of co-hosts, like they do with sumo wrestlers. Mm-hmm. We're just having some more co-hosts coming in.
Yeah, sumo wrestlers.
Sumo. That's what every time I want to say.
You think of like a stable of
I'm telling you for like, oh yeah, is that like a character thing too? That's not just. That makes sense.
Sumo wrestlers.
Sumo wrestlers. Yeah, they're in stables.
Are you thinking like luchadors?
I don't know what that is.
Mexican wrestlers.
Oh, Mexican wrestlers. No, I'm thinking sumo wrestlers. For some reason, I am aware.
Don't wear masks?
No, they call them stable. They call when you're a sumo wrestler, you'll have like a stable of sumo wrestlers that like it's a team or something. I don't know why I know this. This is a thing I know. Anyway, setting that aside, today we're going to be discussing the X-Men animated series episodes of Rogue's Tale and Beauty and the Beast. Eric, I'm so excited about A Rogue's Tale.
Yeah, I'm a little less excited about Beauty and the Beast, but
I liked Beauty and the Beast. That. Okay, well, we'll talk about it.
No, I know, yeah, it was a weird episode. Anyway.
But haven't we, like, since the very start, I have been anticipating this Rogue episode?
Yeah,
to get to talk about it.
Yeah,
it has come.
This is where we finish talking about it, and you just get on a horse and then ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, and then
like,
I'm just.
We have another episode to talk about.
No, I'm done. I have achieved all I want. A little bit about these episodes. They aired on January 8 and 15 in 1994. These are in season 2. Rogue's Tale was written by, I'm going to say Robert N. Skiers. Skirs, Skiers, maybe? And Marty Eisenberg.
I think I pronounced it Skur at one, like he's the Scourge.
Robert N. Scourge.
Yeah.
And Beauty and the Beast was written by Stephanie Matheson. There were links on Skiers and Eisenberg and not on Matheson, so I don't know if that means she hasn't done a lot of writing.
Yeah, I feel like I recognize that name for something, but I can't tell you what.
Yeah, it does sound familiar. Well, we're very useful in that regard. We have nothing else to say about that.
I feel like we talked. Maybe I'm wrong, but I almost felt like we talked about. No, on IMDb it says she did another episode of X-Men, but it's in much later. It's Xavier.
Okay.
So wow. I don't know why I recognize this name at all because we never talked about Mummies Alive.
Mummies Alive? Is that something else?
That's a cartoon apparently from '97.
Oh, well,
she wrote for Punky Brewster for 2 episodes.
Oh, that's probably it, because you're a big Punky Brewster fan, is probably why.
I watched a lot of Punky Brewster, but I'm not a fan now. I don't know how, I didn't watch the new stuff.
Eric, that was a shot in the dark. I did not know that you were actually a Punky Brewster fan.
I grew up watching Punky Brewster. It's why I never played in a refrigerator. So, I thought adoption was real easy. Super easy. You just decide.
Yeah, you
find a kid and it's yours.
It's your kid now. Easy peasy.
Yeah, it's like an umbrella. You just find an umbrella on the side of the road. It's like, that's my umbrella now.
You
Same thing with
shouldn't.
Kids.
You should not be stealing people's umbrellas. Speaking of which, that's how this episode starts.
That's true.
Eric.
I did not connect that. That's very funny.
Amazing segue. So a Rogue's Tale.
I imagine kids watching this are just watching so we're just watching a lady fritter about her night.
Yep, just this nice lady's walking along in the rain, and she's got an umbrella, and some guy just walks up and just tells her to give him her umbrella.
Yep.
He's just like, give me that umbrella, and that's it. There's no subtext or anything.
I'll kill you.
He's just, give me your umbrella. And so she dips her umbrella in front of her face, and then when it comes back up again, she's like a crazy monster.
Different person. It's funny that animation does that stuff because I get it why movies do it because you have to put the umbrella down and then you switch out the actor real quick and you
true, yeah.
But it's funny when animation does it because I guess they're also saving on the animation of, like, the transformation.
That's true. I mean, they do show her transform a bunch, but...
There's a lot of monster designs in this one episode.
There are, yeah. Like, more than is typical.
Yeah.
And then
it's
you
like
have...
a Teen Titans episode.
Yeah. It's that thing again with Mystique's power, because... I wasn't sure if this was Mystique. Like, when I was first watching it, I was thinking maybe this is just, like, sometimes they show those just, like, random mutants who have the physical manifestations and stuff. And I thought this was one of those, that it was just going to be, like, she has, like, her regular face, and then she can turn into a monster, and then she turns back. But no, it turns out this is Mystique.
That's exactly what Mystique does, though. She tricks you. She leaves you uneasy. You don't know who you're dealing with in any situation.
That's true.
If anything, this Mystique has succeeded in tricking you as well.
She has tricked me, the viewer. This is a good episode for Mystique's power. Like, it's obviously a good one for the character, but they use her power nicely like that. Where how she like
turns into a bird. So.
She doesn't turn into a bird, but I like that. I don't like when she turns into a bird. Where does her mask go, Eric?
In the Animorphs, when they morph into something smaller than their own mass, their mass actually goes to, I think it's called, like, the Z zone, so it goes into a different, like, space. And it turns out that space is connected with how the aliens travel faster than light. So in one book, a ship disrupts their mass, and they get pulled into that section, and then they're across the universe.
Well, that is much more complicated than I thought.
Well, I guess, why didn't the series cover that? Why didn't X-Men Evolution cover that? Like, well, I can turn into a bird, but my mass is in a different plane of reality.
How does it get there, though?
Yep.
Is it magic?
It's just, it's just science.
Sure. Sounds like science. Sounds like science to me. I mean, conservation of mass. I mean, at least they talk about it all. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So let's see. The point of this...
It's just she's doing a meeting. She's having a meeting with Sinister.
That's right.
And I kind of found this meeting a little, like, weird, because she's like, this better be good. He's like, it is great. And someday you'll owe me a favor. And all he does is tell her Xavier's not with the X-Men. And
right.
she's like, what? And I feel like if Mystique is really that concerned about Rogue, she would probably know when Xavier's not there.
It does seem that way, yeah. Like she'd be paying attention.
It seems like a really weird thing for Mystique now to owe Sinister a favor on.
Yeah, does that ever come back? I don't even know. I don't remember them, like, teaming up or...
Yeah, I can't remember. I think later in Season 4, when they do the big, like, end of series, what was supposed to be the end of series crossover with Apocalypse, Mystique is working with all of them, but I don't think it's ever a thing where Sinister's like, hey, remember that favor you owe me? It's just such a weird thing, because Mystique could just, like, pick up the phone, call and be like, yes, is Charles Xavier there? Oh, no, he's out of town right now. Oh, thank you. Hang up. And then not owe Sinister a favor.
Yeah. Well, I guess I like them connecting, and there's something cool about the rainy night and the two villains meeting. The atmosphere is cool. But yeah, it is a weird, like...
I guess, for me, if, like, throughout this season, had Sinister been, like, responsible for different things of trying to break up the X-Men...
Yes, that's true.
That would track if that was, like, the connective tissue along with the Savage Worlds. But this is the only time that shows up, so it kind of comes out of nowhere that Sinister is trying to break up the X-Men. And, well, I guess he's trying to have the X-Men destroyed with Morph at the beginning. But
that's true. There is that.
It just it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, and it also just seems like Mystique didn't need Sinister for this.
Yeah, she definitely didn't. She should absolutely have known that. But anyway, they decide that because Xavier isn't there, then the X-Men are probably vulnerable, and so now's your chance to reclaim your daughter, Mystique. Mm-hmm. And this is the first indication of that, isn't it? That we have this relationship?
No, that was back in the Days of Future Past two-parter.
Oh, yeah!
Way back at, because the reveal was that Mystique was the traitor at posing as Gambit, and Rogue shows up, and she's like, Mama!
That's right!
Yeah. So,
that makes this all weird then.
But now that Xavier's not there, Mystique is going to try to mess with Rogue to try to win Rogue back, and to do that, they basically just attack a carnival?
Yeah, well, I think they're just drawing them out. They're like...
Yeah.
Like, the Brotherhood go and just, like, knock things over at a carnival.
So, I'm going to talk about it multiple times. Avalanche cracks me up so much in this episode. And this is the first time, because he's just there. He's like, they get the X-Men's attention, and Pyro's like, all right, time to go. He's like, no, I want a shot at the X-Men. Money's not everything. And he shoots the X-Men with his powers, but then he just gets blasted by Cyclops. So he's just like, ah! And it's just a funny little yell that Avalanche does when he gets shot by Cyclops this first time. But this is, unfortunately, Blob throws a ice cream carton at Storm, and that's enough to knock Storm
just
out
knocks
of
her
the
right
air
out.
and possibly unconscious. And I was just like, that's not a great look for Storm.
Well, she's always the heavy hitter, and they just have to take her out in any given fight.
With the ice cream carton?
With an ice cream, yes. She's just eating it. She's not hurt. She's just distracted.
Oh yeah, she's like, this is delicious.
Ooh.
Thank you, Blob.
You guys take care of them.
Freeze my carton so it does not melt. Hey, I think my Storm's a bit Miss Piggy.
It's getting a little piggy, yeah.
Yeah.
But what I like about this scene is that the X-Men show up, and then they immediately get captured. Like, they wrap them up in, I guess is it Avalanche? Who does it? Who, like, wraps them up in something? In, like, you know, like, they get they get trapped in stone. I guess it must be Avalanche.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And it's
so
like,
they get trance.
They think that they have won, but then Cyclops just blasts it and they're fine.
Yeah.
It's just, like, immediate.
Cyclops is just there to make the Brotherhood look like a fool this episode.
Yeah.
But their true target was Rogue. But the plan was just to knock Rogue down enough that she sees this mysterious blonde woman.
Yeah, that seems to be the only...
And then they leave. So they're playing the long game here.
Like a really long game and like a really risky thing. Because I guess what I assume is happening is that Mystique, in this instance... So Rogue's knocked down, and she sees this blonde woman. I'm assuming that's Mystique.
Yeah.
And I assume that she is trying to, like, stimulate these memories inside of Rogue. But, like, that's assuming a lot. You know what I mean?
Mystique's game revolves around a lot of assumptions on how psychology and mind work. But, I mean, it works because as soon as she sees this blonde woman... Rogue is instantly in her own mindscape.
Yep.
And seeing these images, but she comes out of it pretty quickly. But then when they're back at the mansion, she's like losing it. She keeps seeing this ghost.
Yeah, she keeps seeing her, and sometimes she looks like a monster, and sometimes she just looks like the blonde woman. And we find out she's been having these kind of episodes since Xavier left.
Yeah, she's looking for Jean now in the mansion. She goes out. Wolverine's just chopping wood with his claw, and Rogue goes out, thinks it's her, thinks Wolverine is the blonde woman, and attacks the stump, and Wolverine's just like, blah!
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm sorry, and then she knocks out Gambit, and I just feel bad for Logan, because he's just minding his business, and all of a sudden he's just, like, knocked out. The stump basically explodes.
Yeah.
And then he just gets up, and his claws don't come out, he's just kind of calm about it. He's like, huh.
That was weird.
At this time, you know, in 1994, it is kind of like, who is this mysterious blonde woman who hasn't been in cartoons or had a movie?
Yeah.
You know, like,
and
when people watching, they wouldn't have any idea.
Just no idea. And when I first saw this, I didn't even know who the character was at all. Like, I didn't know Ms. Marvel.
Unless you had read the comics, yeah, this would be it. I'm trying to think if she was in a game, like a video game beforehand, but I'm not a Ms. Marvel... I'm not a Carol Danvers aficionado, so I'm not sure, like, is this the first time she's ever appeared in anything outside of comic books?
Other than comics, I think so. She had just been in Marvel Superheroes in 92. When did this come out? Was this 94?
This is another case of, like, in the Marvel Superheroes comic, like, in one of the shorts, Cry Vengeance, it was the Chris Claremont origin story of Rogue absorbing Ms. Marvel's powers permanently, but that thing had never got published because Ms. Marvel's comic was canceled before they did it. But so that means, like, I kind of see this as the same thing they have with, like, Cable and Bishop, where, like, these characters are created and then, like, their stories are being filled in as this show's going. And the same thing, basically, like, that issue would have come out after probably the first season was pretty much locked and loaded.
I guess so, yeah.
So they wouldn't have been able to. So this is them, like, catching up with the comics pretty quickly. But still, I mean, unless you had read those comics 2 years prior.
Yeah, I don't think she... And she looks super, just sort of forgettable in, like, her regular clothes. Like, when she's just being...
Yeah, Yeah,
she's just
it's not a
some
very
blonde
super
lady
heroic
in like
design, yeah.
a brown
Yeah.
jacket.
You might just bump into her at the grocery store and
Yeah.
she's like looking at a list.
So you're just like, who is this
Yeah.
person who's just
Yep.
freaking the crap out of Rogue? I love how
Yeah.
when she's first talking about these episodes that she's having, Cyclops asks her if she remembers what Xavier has been working on with her, and she's like, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, you should know. I mean, that's not...
I guess we find out later why that would make sense, but then it is kind of like, so what does Rogue think they've been doing?
Right, exactly. They just like go in a room and then she
No.
just forgets everything. I mean, he's sketchy. He's a sketchy guy.
There's a cool shot when Rogue finally's had enough. She sees too many things. This blonde, this woman, this ghost woman, either like psychically, she keeps appearing as these other characters, keeps saying like, you took my life. All this like cryptic stuff, and Rogue finally has enough, and she flies through the mansion. It's kind of a cool shot.
Oh,
where
it
goes
is.
through every floor, and we see the X-Men who weren't there just like doing their thing and being surprised that Rogue is flying through the floor.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 levels, isn't it? She just like bursts through and then
we
you just
see
track
Storm in
her.
her garden. We see Jubilee and we see Wolverine just I think maybe in the kitchen. But Wolverine was just outside chopping wood. He got in there fast.
He gets around.
Yeah.
He does what he wants
she
to.
just flies off, and the ghost is now flying with her.
Yeah, because what's happening is it's all in her head. Like Mystique has triggered this like psychic break in Rogue so that she's somehow being haunted by this blonde woman and is now reaching the point of freaking out.
Yeah, but then Mystique is still like showing up down at the hospital.
She
like,
shows up and like
elevator
prods
and
things
yeah.
along.
She's slowly trying to lead her there. And like during this, like I've seen this episode, but this was a point where I was asking like, Mystique, what's your plan? Like I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? Because I kind of forgot like the resolution between Mystique and Rogue at the end of this. So this whole time I was like, what are you hoping will happen?
She must
because of this
know.
Mystique?
She must know to some extent that Xavier has been like keeping this
away.
memory from Rogue. And so she thinks if I just get her to crack through and have this memory, then she'll remember me and she'll remember our relationship and then we'll be a family again. But yeah it's a lot of like loose ends that have to come together.
Yeah, so Rogue goes down there, but Storm is chasing after Rogue, and
First they go to the Statue of Liberty.
That's right, I forgot about the Statue of Liberty, and then
that
she
was
flies
cool.
off again because of more Mystique stuff. And yeah, finally Rogue goes to the hospital, and Mystique pretends to be Rogue, and then Blob knocks out Storm, just like flicks her. But then Mystique pretends to be Storm and calls for the X-Men. And so then the X-Men get waylaid by the Brotherhood again.
Yeah, so now we're seeing the Mystique's plan is sort of twofold. Like she has 2 goals. She wants to have Rogue... Right, exactly. Like she wants to get Rogue to see this lady, but she also actively wants to get... lady! She wants to get the X-Men because they took her. They took Rogue from her.
And the X-Men had like shown up, they had like driven there, and Cyclops has a funny line when Avalanche attacks, or no, it's Blob. Blob is falling from the sky, and Cyclops is just like, what the? And they have to dodge out of the way. And again, Avalanche blasts at them, and then just gets knocked out, and he's just like, ah, ooh! And it's just like, he just blasted again. It's funny. He just has this like, ah!
I think it's sort of like, you just like the laugh, or the yell that he does.
Yeah, the yell, and the fact that it's like, he gets one shot off with his avalanche powers, and then knocked out.
That seems to be like a pattern though, because like with him, with Storm, like anybody who sort of has these like wide-ranging powers, they seem to like to kind of get them out.
Shot.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing at the avalanche getting blasted all the time scenes. But then there's the scene with Blob and Wolverine where he says, eat sidewalk, and smashes Wolverine, and Wolverine says, needs salt. And I'm just kind of like,
He's got the dad humor.
I don't know if I liked that.
It needs salt.
It just had me like nodding, like, yes, that is a thing you could say.
Good choice. The thing that I hate about that that particular exchange is how Wolverine gets his claws out and is gonna like stab Blob, and like it turns out that he's Blob, and so you can't like cut him or whatever. But just like, what was Wolverine's plan? He's just gonna eviscerate this guy?
Yeah, Wolverine was attempting murder. That's the thing,
awful.
though. When with someone like Blob, you can have Wolverine try to kill the guy, and then when it doesn't work, we're like, well, Wolverine hasn't killed anyone.
he wanted
fine.
to actively.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
tried.
there are times when Wolverine's claws come out, and you're like, if it wasn't for this thing, that person would be dead.
Yep.
There's been a few times in the early Claremont comics before they like really mellowed him out. There was 1 or 2 times where Nightcrawler might have been killed, or Colossus. They would have been like, Wolverine, you're such a loose cannon.
Yep.
It's like, no, kick him out the team.
He is murdering people.
Yeah. But yeah, he definitely was trying to kill Blob in this situation. That was his plan.
Just like stab him, like shear off some of that fat. Oh, it's so gross.
So
it is
Rogue
gross.
is tearing apart this hospital. What she doesn't know is Mystique. And I was just kind of like, Rogue, hospitals don't have tons of money.
I know. That's what I thought too. She's like tearing apart the walls and like she bursts through the elevator.
This hospital doesn't look like specifically it has a lot of money, let alone hospitals.
I know, it's a little run down. It's kind of...
Every door is being thrown at this elevator. Like, this is going to cost so much to repair.
Well, she's just lost it at this point. I think she's just completely irrational at this point.
Yeah, she's not holding back. She just needs to get to where this woman is.
She finds the room. And sort of lurks for a second, and you hear the nurses being like, "Oh, this is Jane Doe. We call her Sleeping Beauty."
She's been catatonic forever. Like, her brain activity has never changed since she's been there.
Yeah. Does she understand right when she sees her, or is she still...
So she gets there, and she's just like, what's happening? Now I'm gonna get you. And Mystique turns back into her original form, and Rogue's like, Mama, why are you making me show up here? And she's like, touch me and remember.
That's
right. And I'm like, well, why couldn't you have just done that in the first place? You could have
You don't need this whole rigmarole.
Call, hello, is Rogue there? Can you come meet me? Touch me and remember. See?
Problem solved.
But I guess she needed to because like bringing out the personality did not do what I think Mystique wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I think she wanted the memories to come out. I don't know if she really understood that it would then have this weird battle of personalities inside of her.
But it's just kind of, it's a long game, but like, you just want to be Mystique. The fastest way between 2 points is a straight line, and Mystique's like, no. I want to try a few different ways. But again, maybe the plot to revenge is like, well, we got to keep Rogue out of the X-Men then, so we'll keep her busy. But it's just a lot.
It is a lot.
But anyways, back into the Mindscape then, because we go through Rogue's memories.
Yeah, and we get to see her memories, and we get to see her in the green costume, like back when she was a villain with Mystique.
We see her with Cody again, kissing her boyfriend and knocking him out. We see her with her dad, and her dad's like, no daughter of mine with a mutant. Look at my hat and my outfit. My belly don't fit in my shirt. Like, now get out of here.
He kicks her out. He's exactly... My son was watching this with me, and he turned around and he was like, this is a pretend memory, right? And I was like, no, I mean, this is what happened to her.
Yeah. Your son's slowly like, not all parents?
Yep.
But yeah, definitely a very purposeful design with her dad there.
Yeah, for real. It's like, this is the kind of person this is.
Yeah. And then, you're right, the green, not just like an older green, it's the villain costume that she wore, which is kind of like a cool callback there. But they didn't design her to look like 80 years old, so it's not quite like when she originally was wearing that
her actual self. She doesn't have that weird, like, short, cropped haircut.
Yeah. No, it's just Rogue, like, as we know her, but just in that green costume, which is so cool. And I guess the plan is they want to get Ms. Marvel. Like, they're not trying to steal anything. It's a trap for Ms. Marvel specifically.
I think so. And I think it seems like that Rogue doesn't know that part of it.
Right. So they're going off the idea that, like, in the Ms. Marvel series, the original Ms. Marvel series, Mystique was a Ms. Marvel villain.
Yes.
And so it seems like that's what this episode's playing off of, that Mystique has a prior hero-villain relationship with Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, the way that she swoops in when, like, they steal this jet, and Ms. Marvel swoops in full costume, and it's very much as if we're seeing a snippet of another show. Like this that she's the hero of, and she's going to come and save the day. Because
Mystique has already had the Brotherhood people on her side, because when Rogue's practicing her powers, she uses her powers on Avalanche. She's like, once again. And it just cracked me up. But so Mystique has had like a villainous career before she adopted Rogue.
Right.
Because we see Rogue at like a train station or a bus station crying, and
because she's been kicked out.
Yeah, Mystique shows up as her other
like a nice old lady kind of a feel.
Like, it looks like you could use a meal and a hot bath. The second one seems a bit rude, but whatever. But yeah, so you're right. It seems like we could almost imagine there was a 13-episode Ms. Marvel cartoon.
Oh, now I missed that.
Oh,
let's all take a moment and mourn
the Ms.
lack
Marvel
of
cartoon you never got.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty prominent in the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon.
That's true.
And she's got the scarf, so
I suppose I'll have to take that.
But yeah.
When we finally get to the end of the memories, the last memory we have is she leaves Mystique, and we don't see why. It's just when I left again, this happened. She's left Mystique, and she hears Xavier calling to her.
Because the trap was to get Rogue to take out Ms. Marvel, to steal her powers and everything, but it takes out Ms. Marvel, and Rogue's saying, like, something's wrong, this hurts and everything.
That's right.
I don't know how young Rogue's supposed to be, because she kind of talks like she's almost a baby in some way. She's like, Mama, it hurts!
Yeah.
It feels bad, Mama!
She's very confused and I think she's supposed to be maybe like a young teen. I mean, she has to be post-pubescent.
Yeah. But yeah, she takes out Ms. Marvel, and they're flying and everything, and they crash down, but Rogue now has her invincibility and everything. But yeah, she says she has to leave again because the memories are still there. And so she's just leaving, but Xavier's the one who calls her when she leaves.
Right.
And it's like, mutant.
Come to me.
Which, again, also everyone seems kind of rude when they first meet Rogue. It's just like, you could have been like Child or Rogue.
I know, he knows her name.
Read your mind.
Yeah.
But he's just like, mutant.
Mutant.
So we get to see how Rogue joined the X-Men in this series.
Yeah.
But the first thing Xavier does is says, in order to heal, you must forget. And then erases Rogue's memories of this Ms. Marvel stuff.
Yeah, it's because he needs to lock her away, I guess, because it's just too forceful of an element in her mind.
I can never put her mind back into her body, nor can I remove the personality from there, but I can quiet her.
Which seems to me, I didn't like when he said I can never put her. I mean, like, if I were him, I might have made it like a project to try.
We will try our best.
Yeah,
I'm the greatest mind.
He just writes it off immediately. It's just like, nah.
My one thing is psychic powers. So
not
maybe
gonna
I
try.
Can. But we've seen in the movies a few times the Xavier that maybe without Jean's consent removes the Phoenix part of her.
Yeah.
Or quiets that. But there's something about this Xavier saying I can quiet that voice that does seem a bit more altruistic and a bit kinder about it. He's not removing
I think you just trust his voice because it's
maybe
from
it's
your childhood.
I mean, I guess you're right. It's the same thing. Because now Rogue doesn't really remember any of it. But I guess the way he phrases it, I can quiet that voice, it seems like, oh, a nice way to put it.
Just quiet it down. We're not putting her in a box where she'll just
or boxes or turn you into a different person. I'm just gonna quiet it. Yeah, Xavier got me. Darn it. He's so good at that.
He's very tricksy.
He's so tricky.
So we get that big reveal, and then we're back in real time.
We go back to the real time, and now Mystique's powers are out of control in Rogue. And so she's transforming into all these personalities. She's like, no, wait, you still have my powers, but you can't control them. And then it turns out that when she transforms into the Ms. Marvel form, Ms. Marvel's personality is loose, and it's now in control.
She's going to take over. She's like, I can have your body, I can have your mind, I'm taking over. And listen.
You laugh? Yeah.
Ms. Marvel in this, I mean, I had to spend the entire time being like, this is a part of her. It's not her. It's this echo of her, and all. She's just so vindictive and kind of crazy.
Well, see, that's the thing. Yeah, I know what you're talking about because Ms. Marvel is angry, but the way she reacts to Rogue in there, but also when she's in control of the body and she's talking out loud, I'll never give up this body.
Yeah.
You do have to remember that it's a aspect of Ms. Marvel's personality that's in Rogue.
Right.
So it's not Ms. Marvel herself.
But I did miss that, it seemed it would have been nice to get some of her actual personality. If we're going to spend this much time.
Yeah, if you're watching this and you don't know who Ms. Marvel is at all, back then, like in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
And like it does seem like Ms. Marvel is the bad guy.
Yeah, that's how it was. Like when I first saw it, I was like, who is this crazy person? Oh, good, they got her in a box. You know, like when you don't know, it's like, this is a human person. Like she has a life, she has a whole story.
In 2021, with everything we know, I think you can also think like, it's not even just her personality, but it's like the blame Rogue has.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe mixed in it, so like it's Ms. Marvel's personality, but now also Rogue, and so Rogue is angry inside that. There's a lot of stuff you can put onto it.
Well, I think what helps
at times it seems like I'll kill you, Rogue.
Yeah,
you're like no,
for real. And I think particularly when she takes the form, and then you're sort of seeing her outside of that psychic realm, then it really stands out. But it does help that you have sometimes she's got that monster face, because that does sort of makes you think of it less as like a full personality and more as like some sort of manifestation.
We have this stuff in the comics a bunch of times when the X-Men are in Genosha for the first time, Carol Danvers is taking over, and then when Rogue gets separated from them from the siege paralysis, she's in the Savage Lands, and this form has like come out and is trying to kill Rogue. But at that time, Carol Danvers isn't in a coma. She's off doing her own thing. So you can separate that.
Yeah.
But in this episode, there's no like, well, at least in this episode, Carol Danvers is in a coma.
Yeah, and it feels like she's in the coma because her entire personality is inside of Rogue.
Yep. I always laugh when the door opens and the X-Men are just standing there, and Cyclops is instantly like, where's Rogue?
Yeah.
There's just something like, it feels like there's just a step of like, maybe they should have like looked for a minute, or maybe the X-Men shouldn't just be like standing there like they've been pasted onto the background.
Yeah, you gotta have like the door opens and then they like stumble forward because they were like listening at the door.
It just feels like maybe like Cyclops is asking the audience if we can find Rogue in the picture.
Look for Rogue. Where's Rogue?
But yeah, there's this just big battle because Rogue / Ms. Marvel is flying out there, and Storm can't keep up. And so now it's up to Jean, because Jean's using Cerebro. And so it's Jean and Rogue inside Rogue's mind fighting Ms. Marvel. So there's a bit shades of that time Xavier was in Sabretooth's mind.
Yeah, very much.
But it's more like a battlescape, because like Ms. Marvel is throwing Rogue through like these floating rocks there.
Yep.
And being like, I'm never giving you this box. I'm going to destroy you. And Jean's like, well, if you destroy Rogue, it's the mind. You'll also destroy yourself. And Ms. Marvel's like, better to have a fate like that. It
feels like you don't quite get the I would rather die than be like trapped in your mind. Because, like you basically just get like it feels fate. It feels more like vengeful than like I just can't take this anymore.
I wonder if that's a censor thing. You can't have her saying like, I'd rather die than be trapped in this mind.
That's true.
But I mean, that's how I took it, as that like she would rather destroy Rogue here and die than be trapped in this mind.
Yeah, which just makes you wonder like what she's been experiencing for however many years. Like has she just been sort of like unconscious, or has she been like in there being, I
imagine that she's just trapped. I mean, we see it. Jean and Rogue trap her in a cage.
Yeah. And then like cover it over with like cement.
Yeah. It's a dark result, because it doesn't, Rogue and Jean aren't really like doing a heroic thing. No. And even Rogue is like in tears. She's like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. Like Rogue knows she's protecting herself and her own existence by doing this, but she's also trapping another person. Yeah. There to do that. And it is sad. You know what? There are a few Ms. Marvel lines where she's like, you took everything from me. And I guess in my old age, I'm turning 35 next Saturday.
Yay,
so not
happy
that
birthday.
old. But like, there's just something about this point in my life now where like these simple things in these cartoons where she's like, you took from me everything, my life. I'm like, I teared up. Yeah. I was like, I had like tears, and like not a small amount of tears. Yeah. Like not like, oh, don't look at me. I'm wiping away. Like my eyes were watered because I was like, that's so sad.
Well, the more of a life that you have, the more that means to you, to just like lose all of that.
And Rogue is in tears because she's like, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about it. And it's like getting me.
I know. Well, I think that's a really good point. How like there's nothing heroic about what happens in this episode. Yeah. It's just like a necessity thing. And like.
Because we've had this and the Beast, next episode's a Beast episode. This is part of like this second season doing very like character spotlight episodes. Mm-hmm. But like Wolverine gets to, in his episode, he gets to be like, I'm not part of Alpha Flight. I'm not part of Department H. Never follow. And he leaves. And Gambit's like, I'm not a thief or assassin. I'm an ex. They get these like kind of heroic send-offs to their past lives.
That's true.
Rogue doesn't. Rogue's past life is still like haunting her, like at the end of this. And they don't get to be like, they don't get this heroic walk off the camera.
Yeah.
Her and Jean are kind of like, well, let's never talk about this again. Yeah,
and as I'm thinking about it, it sort of feels like that would be a bonding thing for the two of them, but I don't know if that ever really goes anywhere, because it's sort of like they've both committed this crime together, like they're just tied together with this horrible thing.
I mean, you do get with Rogue and Mystique, Rogue's still in tears about it, but she's like, I'm not your daughter. Not anymore. You're not my mother. And, and Mystique's like, no. But I guess that's kind of that, the same thing Wolverine and Gambit had in their episodes. That's kind of like...
That's true.
This part of my life is over. So, like, Rogue still has the Ms. Marvel stuff she has to deal with, but I guess she's putting her foot down and drawing a line with the Mystique and the Brotherhood stuff.
Yeah, you do get to see her, like, take ownership of her life. And, like, I am choosing the X-Men. This thing with Mystique is over.
We cut, and Gambit's like, whoa!
I know!
See, lady, dress up for me this time. Hubba, hubba.
Ow, ow!
Auga! But it's just Rogue in, like, jeans and a tank top.
It's not even jeans. It's like a ruffle top sweatpants situation.
It was so fun. I was like, how are they drawing her? And then you see her, I'm like, so she's just like a woman about to go like shopping.
I know, there's nothing. It's crazy. Did she have something different with her hair or anything?
Rogue,
I don't even.
And we've seen Rogue in those like Daisy Duke shorts before, and like those scenes seems a lot more scandalous than her like mom jeans.
Yeah. I mean, like, if he'd been like, oh, you look nice, where are you going? Like, that would have been one thing. But he was like, I can't take it.
He's shuffling a deck of cards and they just go flying. He's like, oh,
oh my gosh.
It's such an overreaction. He's just like, I'm just going out. I don't know.
It's not a big deal, but bye.
Gambit. You know what? I feel like, I'll say it when we're done talking about the episode, because it turns out Rogue is going to deliver a plant to Captain Marvel. I say
Ms. Marvel.
I guess she wasn't Captain Marvel until like much into like the early she was still Ms. Marvel. Right?
She's Ms. Marvel, and she has to be binary before she ends up being Captain Marvel.
She takes it to Carol Danvers, who's still in the coma, because this Carol Danvers, nothing has happened to her.
I know, she's just living her life, being in a coma. So I guess if they ever, like, give her personality back, is that, like, will she get those memories, or is she just going to kind of, like...
No, that's the thing. Like, even if there had been the resolution between Rogue and Captain Marvel, Rogue and Carol Danvers in her mind, that still doesn't affect... This woman would never not be in a coma.
Right.
Like, the Rogue stuff doesn't affect that. I mean, that's the thing. Rogue now has a trapped Carol Danvers in her mind, and the real Carol Danvers is in a coma. So, like, what Rogue did has affected almost two people. So,
yeah. But it's okay, because she brings her flowers for, like, 2 seconds and then walks away.
And then Carol Danvers is able to smile.
She gives a little smile, so everything's okay. Why do you think they do that? I mean, like, obviously from a storytelling, they want to, like, absolve Rogue a little bit by showing that, like, Carol Danvers is okay in some way. But, like, why would she be improving?
The idea that she would smile seems strange. But, I mean, I feel like, story-wise, after Jean and Rogue are basically like trapping her like in that Edgar Allan Poe story, what is it, Cask of what?
The Cask of Amontillado.
Yeah, they're basically doing that, trapping you not just the cage, but like blocking out all light for her.
Yeah, and she can't die, so she's just trapped there forever.
You kind of have to have a scene where the real Carol Danvers is like, it's okay, I'm happy like this.
I wish I could stay here forever.
Yeah, and that's how it ends. Anyway, this is a pretty emotional episode.
Yeah, it's got a lot of emotional weight going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you just sort of have to accept and like go with the flow of the episode.
Mystique's plan is a little kind of like, this seems like a step too many.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still it's a good. I think it's good. I think you get a lot of interesting, you know, exploration of Rogue's, you know, history and all of the complex feelings she's got about things. And
yeah, and you know, it is kind of like that Wolverine and Gambit episode where you show that like prior to the X-Men, they had kind of sketchy lives. Like Wolverine was part of this like secret organization. Gambit was part of the Thieves Guild. Rogue was part of the Brotherhood of Mutants. You know.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Storm's just like, I have an adopted son, kind of. I feel like, in retrospect, the one thing this episode... I guess there's no room for it, because the episode is doing a lot with Rogue. But it seems like at one point, Gambit says he's just trying to help. It seems like Rogue was very prominent in Gambit's episode.
Yes.
Dealing with his past and stuff. But Gambit seems a lot less so in this.
Yeah.
But I guess there's just so much. Like, you're dealing with Rogue's, from getting her powers to being a villain to meeting Xavier. You have her trying to find Carol and dealing with Mystique. You have the Brotherhood of Mutants. I guess there's not too much room for Gambit and her relationship to be affected in this. But I feel like that's kind of like a long-term weakness in this one episode. Like,
I think you're right.
There was a scene where Gambit could have been there for her in the same way she was there for him.
Yeah, because you don't get a lot of opportunity to see that, which makes their relationship feel a little one-sided, where he's just always being like, hey, and she will like actually do things that are useful. And I mean, you're right that there wasn't really space for like, and she has this relationship, but they basically put Storm in that position. Like, Storm was sort of the one who was like pursuing her and trying to help.
Which tracks, because the first time we met Rogue, she's just out with Storm.
Yeah.
So, like, throughout the series, that's, you know, you said that thing about her and Jean, but, like, it does seem like Rogue and Storm are kind of, like, the best friends. They seem
like they do. And, like, I mean, even just on a team level, it's always the two of them, like, going ahead of everybody else and, like, kind of getting things started if there's a fight and stuff. So they're linked.
That is nice. I hadn't really thought about that. It's her, like, on the Statue of Liberty, they have that moment.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a thing that, like, if you weren't doing that with Storm, that's a scene you would have had with Gambit.
Yeah, right.
So,
but like when you're having Rogue like freaking out and having like her level of power, it probably makes more sense too to have it be Storm.
And there's a lot more X-Men in this episode than there are in those other ones, where it's just kind of like it's just Wolverine off by himself, where it's a select group of X-Men hanging out with Gambit.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no Savage World thing, because Rogue was very upset. She's like, Xavier's gone, maybe forever.
Yeah.
We don't even see him.
We don't see him at all. And we didn't in the last episode, did we? Hasn't it been a while since we've seen a shot of the two of them?
In the
Savage Land?
The Time Fugitives. Yeah, it has been a while. I can't remember. Did we see Barbarous? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but it feels like it's been a while. Yeah. But we don't get them the entire episode.
Do you like this episode? Is it still good? I mean, now that you know stuff about Carol Danvers.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess I was expecting to like more about that stuff than I did. Like, knowing that now I know Carol Danvers, she's one of my favorite characters in Marvel. I was sort of excited to see it, but having watched it, it sort of feels like I still haven't seen Carol Danvers or Ms. Marvel, because it didn't feel like her.
It's really just her for that, like, brief second where we see her being a superhero.
Yeah, and even that wasn't super, like, distinctive as her. It was just sort of like, here I am to save the day.
Yeah. After that, it's all just, you know, the personality that's in Rogue, so, you know, it's not really the real Carol Danvers. I mean, I thought it was cool to see her in her Ms. Marvel outfit. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Because now she's, you know... But, if you're a Captain Marvel fan... I don't imagine you're leaving super satisfied.
No. So I guess I settled back into liking it as a Rogue episode, because Rogue is also one of my favorites, and so I really enjoyed
I like
that part of it.
I do really like it. I think it is a tad messy, but it's also dealing with, like, kind of heady issues. So I imagine there's just a lot going on. I wish it was a bit like tighter at some points. I guess it's really the Mystique stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I think it's probably for like how long? Like 20-minute show. I think the amount of stuff that they managed to fit in there. You know.
But yeah, as a Rogue episode, I like it. It's it's really the second Rogue spotlight we've had then, because there was the Cure and then there was this, and those they deal with some pretty important topics for Rogue, like her curse, her gift, and then the time she absorbed Captain Marvel's powers.
Right.
So
well, and when they do the previously on X-Men, it's all memories of her taking people's powers, and then you have that one moment where Wolverine is talking about how like none of us would be traitors and like not want to have their powers, and Rogue's like, a little bit. So you get some of that conflict of like what she wants.
Yeah.
So that's that one. So I liked it. Yep. You liked it. Pretty good.
You know, I had talked about how the first episode I ever saw when they were re-airing it was the Externally Yours, and then the Time Futures Part 1 2. I'm pretty sure though I didn't see this one until either the series went back around or I got the DVDs or the tapes because I had missed this episode when they were re-airing it. I think I was just not able to watch it that day. So it had been a while before I got to watch this one originally, but I was there the next day for Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast.
The X-Men episode, not the Disney movie.
Yeah.
Although it seemed like... No, hang on. Mm-hmm. Was Beauty and the Beast out by now, like the movie? I don't even know when that was. Okay, because I was going to say, there are elements of this, like visual elements, that feel a little bit like they're nodding to the movie.
But then I wasn't... Beauty and the Beast was 1991.
Yep, you're right. 1991.
Yep. 91, and then Aladdin was 92. In fact, Aladdin was the highest grossing movie domestically in 1992.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
So yeah, Beauty and the Beast, not the Disney movie, the X-Men episode.
The X-Men episode.
It's Hank McCoy, the Beast in Love.
Aw, it's very sweet. I think this is, like, before we get into it, I think this is a pretty nice view of Beast.
It's the only really Beast spotlight we've had, period, because he was in jail the whole first season. And like they did give him, I think so far we've had good glimpses of him as like Beast and like kind of like his quipping and like those kinds of things. I think we've had a good picture of him, but we haven't really like looked into his character. We get good Beast moments, we get fun Beast moments, we get to like you have understood who he is up until this point.
Yeah.
But this is the first time he's had like the camera on the episode. This is the first time we've really got to see like what's the life of Hank McCoy like.
The life of Hank McCoy is like a lab scientist in a hospital for the blind.
Yeah, he's working with the Hospital for the Blind, curing blindness?
He's curing blindness.
Maybe just this specific woman.
Well, because there's one woman who is blind. Carly, and they seem to have been doing some sort of experimenting involving her, but they also mention a surgery. Mm-hmm. So there's some sort of like experimental treatment that they're doing with this one blind woman.
Yeah, but she likes it. It's pretty obvious that she likes Beast.
Yep, she likes Beast, and so you right away are like he looks, like a beast. But she's blind, so like because she can't see him, maybe she can like.
She likes him for his heart.
She likes him for his heart.
He makes her laugh.
But she does. She takes his hand one time, so she does know that he has some sort of situation happening. Hairy hands.
But it's the Friends of Humanity again.
Yeah. So like because Beast and his like co-scientist doctor guy. Alec? I did not write down his name.
They call him Alec or Dr. Bolson sometimes.
They seem to be friendly, and Carly, the three of them seem to have a nice dynamic. They're chatting about this surgery coming up, and then, like, there's fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Friends of Humanity have showed up just yelling, like, mutants! There's a guy right behind Graydon Creed that looks like if Longshot let himself go. But yeah, it's just Grady Creed out there, just like, they employ that mutant's dealing in a hospital. What? Everything about this makes me so mad.
I know. They never, like, you see these people, and they're so familiar, but also, like, they don't do a lot of work, the writers, to explain any amount of, like, the why that they're telling themselves about, like, why they're mad. Because it's just like, he's a scientist, screw him, you know? There's no, like, we don't want this because... Anyway.
I guess I don't have a problem believing that because I see people being told the truth now and they're like, no.
That's true. That's true. You're right.
No.
I gotta reduce my faith in humanity.
Yeah, you gotta... It's tough. Watching this cartoon can be tough these days.
It really can. Oh, my word.
So Beast is, dealing with that. And then, of course, it's a cheese it is the cops moment.
Yes.
Like, what did they think was gonna happen?
Scatter.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But we get to see Beast take down, like, several of them, which is nice. Like, he escapes. He gets Carly and, like, jumps out the window and, like, rescues them. And then he just, like, takes down the guys.
Yep.
Which is just fun to see because they're jerks.
Cut to the X-Men mansion, and Wolverine is pissed.
Oh, yeah.
He's just like, attack the hospital for the blind? I'll kill him! Let me...
He's
him like the Blob.
He's definitely let me at him. He is ready to go. And Jean has to, like, talk him down and be like, we don't do that. And he's like, but they're jerks. And she's like, no.
This is a good episode for Wolverine. It
is.
It kind of shows a different side of Wolverine, but he has this very, like, it's rage, but it's a rage that's based off of justice. You know what I mean? Like, this is it totally. This is one of the times where Wolverine is, like, furious, but we, like, he's right. He's right to be this angry. And there's a funny scene where Jean is like, this needs to be handled delicately, and he's like, delicately? Like, this is the first time he's ever heard the word.
Interesting.
If you remember in the episode where we saw him joining Alpha Flight.
Oh, when he's learning to read?
Yeah. When what's her name?
I don't remember.
What's Hudson? What's her name? Hudson.
I don't know.
Oh, my word. No, that's killing me now. Of course I know her name. Hudson. Jamie and...
Heather.
When Heather Hudson is teaching him to read, like, maybe they just never taught him delicate.
They didn't teach him delicate.
Because Jean then kind of explains what she means by that. He's like, oh, delicately.
Yeah, because you just got that whole... What?
When you put a butterfly on your finger.
Oh, delicate.
That's right, Logan. Very good.
Very good.
This is called a chair. Chair. He's oh boy, now I can't remember now. The Brendan Fraser movie.
Tarzan?
He's a caveman. No, he's a caveman.
Oh, I think, isn't that just caveman?
Encino Man. Encino Man, yeah, when he's the Encino Man. Boy, I'll just remember things first and then talk. Yeah. That's a good technique. But yeah, he's off to go. He says, you better think of something fast, otherwise there's going to be a few less friends of humanity to deal with.
Because he's going to murder them.
But we cut right from that to the Savage Land.
Yeah, because Jean, Wolverine leaves and Jean's like, where are you, Professor?
Yep.
And then we're like, here he is, in the Savage Land.
In the swamp, and guess who shows up to get caught in a net? Amphibious shows up.
Amphibious.
So...
Now, this is not a mutant, right? Like, what's their deal?
No, all of these people are mutates.
Mutates.
Yes. I don't remember, because they talk about it, that Magneto created them, but I don't know if in, like, the next couple episodes if we'll get more information on that, but they're created by Magneto here in this one.
They've talked about that earlier, and in this one, Amphibious says, I serve the new ruler of the Savage Land.
He has a line that I have remembered since the first time I saw this episode back in 2000. It's that Magneto speaks and the Savage Land trembles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's Amphibious' voice is just so, like, fun to listen to.
It's very amphibious.
It's very frog-like. And so, like, that line delivered, like, with that voice and that character design, I'm just like, I've never forgotten that. It's so funny.
It's very striking.
But yeah, it's Amphibious. And they tie him up and they're going away, but they get attacked by some type of dinosaur. And I can't tell you if it's supposed to be, like, the Plesiosaurus, or if it... But then...
Well, it has two heads, unless it's two different animals.
I think it's two different animals.
Well, I thought it was like a... See, I didn't even think about there being dinosaurs there. I just thought it was like a sea monster.
Oh, that's
So I was thinking it had 2 heads.
Yeah, I think it's 2 different ones.
Well,
maybe you're right. Maybe this is a mutate.
Calm down. I think it's 2 monsters.
I mean, but yeah, so I don't know. Maybe these 2 like Diplodocus are like, hey, you know how we're herbivores? Yeah. Maybe we should just try meat. All right,
we should just give it a try. Hey, look, there's a little raft going by.
I can do frog. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
This is new to us.
We're trying new things. So they attack it, and then Magneto and Xavier use this as an opportunity.
Away.
They swim away with their hands bound behind their backs.
In my head, I was thinking, like, that's not possible, right? But then Kendra's right next to me. She's like, I don't think you can swim with your hands tied behind your back.
I don't think you can.
Also surprised. Like, how strong would your kicks have to be to just torpedo yourself with your hands behind your back?
Maybe if you're doing that thing where you swim like a mermaid, you know, how like you just keep your legs together and you do that. But I just don't know how you'd keep your front half level, you know?
Yeah. Also, Magneto's wearing metal. So, I don't know. Yeah, it seemed very like it in a river. They seem to be also swimming against the current. There's a lot you can question about that scene.
But they escape anyway. They get away. This has happened pretty much in every clip of them, hasn't it? Where they like sort of almost get caught and then escape, and then they're just sort of wandering around.
They're always in peril, or they're always escaping peril.
But like briefly. It's always very brief.
So now we've met Amphibious. Have we also met the little guy with the big head?
Yes, I think so.
I think we have.
I think like with someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all we get. That's all we get for this episode with the 2 of them.
Episodes.
Because I guess all we're seeing, like if you piece these all together, we're just seeing them wander around in the Savage Land. Mm-hmm. I mean, what's their goal, would you say? Like just to figure out
where they are? They're just avoiding capture and trying to get out. I mean, Magneto must know where he's going. Later, I feel like he does know he is leading them to his citadel.
Okay.
And I think that's what like the end game for them is here. But yeah, if you're just viewing it as they're airing, you're just checking in with them.
You know what's a shame about this?
Okay.
It feels like we're just getting glimpses of them so that we don't forget that they exist. But like when you think about it, it's Xavier and Magneto just being trapped alone in the jungle. Like there's a lot of character opportunity there.
Yeah. Every now and then you had a bit where they talked, or like, if you let me die, your life would be easier.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of like, we were best friends once, don't you remember?
Yeah, like I would like to see a bit of them, just like an extended walking through the jungle.
Yeah.
Just talking.
Fire at night, cooking meat, just being like, remember that time we stayed up all night trying to solve that Rubik's Cube?
All night.
I don't know why I chose this path of villainy, Charles.
Let's just be friends.
I brought a Rubik's Cube with me.
I love you. I don't know which one I'm being in this scenario.
We were both doing the Magneto voice.
I think we were both thinking. He's the one who would do the talking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
he would have the emotional break and just be like, I love you, Charles.
And you, Magneto.
Yes, he would be more restrained. Now's not the time. We must survive. Karate chop!
Cut back.
So back to like the main episode. We just get that little window and then we're just back to Wolverine.
Wolverine in and out. So
it is so hard to figure out what he is. Like by the time this scene is over, you're like, okay, I get what he's doing. But when the scene first starts and he's in the alley, I'm just like, so I guess he's just trying to get people to come out of
throwing cans. But then when he's up on the fire escape and he's bashing his arms against the thing, it's like, if you don't know what he's doing, you imagine he's just trying to make noise. Actually, though, now when I watch it and I know that he's trying to like bruise himself to look like he got beat up,
right?
It's kind of like a brutal scene in some ways
because he's just beating himself up,
bashing his arms against and like, I'm kind of surprised they were able to get away with that.
That's true. Well, I mean, I guess maybe because it's so confusing if you don't know ahead of time. Maybe they just missed it.
And it's Wolverine, so he can heal from it. But at the same time, like, this is a guy like doing self-harm to himself. I'm surprised it got through the censors. Yeah,
you're right.
And
a lot of the stuff. Yeah, and then so like some thugs come out and are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, "It was a mutant attacked me, blah blah blah." And so then they take him in.
Yeah, I know. They're like, "Well, that's the password. Come on." Congratulations.
So that's when we realize the whole thing was him just trying to get in. So he'll be like a spy sort of with the Friends of Humanity.
Yeah. So what time is all of this happening? Because this is at night with Wolverine.
Yeah.
But then we cut to Hank at the hospital. And so is this a different day now? You know what I mean?
I mean, it could be, because I think, like, you get the impression that
Wolverine's there for
they
a
kind of
while?
like, it's like a compound. I wonder if people even live there, you know, like it's a weird camp
Probably.
or something.
Hank is back at the hospital, and it turns out that the board is uncomfortable with Hank there because of the attack.
Yeah, they
And
think
then
that
it
it'll
turns
put
out-
their patients in danger if people are attacking.
And then it turns out Carly's dad is a bigot, and
Yeah.
he's like, no mutant will work on my daughter. I don't care if she'll ever be able to see. She will be blind for
This
the rest
is a
of her life.
decision that I will make for her.
It is just me. How old is Carly, do you
That's
think?
true. It hadn't actually occurred to me. Why does he have any say in this?
Yeah.
She seems like very adult, you know, like 23 or something maybe.
Yeah. So he's like, I'll tell Carly goodbye. So he walks in, and she's like, Hank. And it's so funny. He's like, how'd you know it was me? It's like, of course, she's blind. She doesn't not know. You know, blind
Yeah,
people
she
can
can-
function, Hank.
Yes. But
It's just so
she smelled his aftershave, and I'm like, he does not shave. That's not a thing.
No.
He does not have
Hank-
aftershave.
Well, now do you think he does to keep him, like, this is Hank after a shave in the morning?
He shaved and then it just puffed right out again.
Why can't I be normal?
Why?
But yeah, of course she knows you don't. But there's that sad line when he leaves. He's like, yeah, I have another appointment. I have to go. And she's like, but it was you I wanted to see.
Yeah. So you see a lot from Carly in this episode that she like genuinely likes Hank.
Yeah.
So it's not just I feel
This
like
is neat.
you would see maybe you'd expect to see Beast pining after her, but like this is like a real relationship. Like they flirt a little bit and like
Yeah.
they seem to
not
like
a
really care about
unrequited-
each other.
It's not unrequited. It's definitely back and forth.
And like she knows, you find out I think in this scene that she's known all along that he's a mutant and like all that kind of stuff.
Well,
And
yeah,
she doesn't
coming
care.
up, yeah.
So-
And when she can see, she mentions that. We go to, like, he's sad. He's back. He's looking through his old photo albums, and he sees himself without the hair, and then he sees his younger self with hair, just hanging out with
Yeah,
friends.
and he gets very upset, which I mean, I understand the general concept of being upset that you have this blue hair. But when he's looking through the pictures, it looks like he had kind of a nice full life, even once he had
he still
his
had
mutation.
friends.
Like,
Yeah.
people seemed accepting of him. He went to, like, a ball game. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like he was living a life, which is, I mean, nice to see.
Jean brings him some lunch because she's a mom. And he gets mad and throws the book at the mirror, and then he's like, why can't I be normal?
Yeah, and this is, like, the first time that we see this kind of thing from him. Like, everything
this
else has been
never happened with
very...
him.
Yeah, like very
joked
accepting of
about it.
himself. Yeah, and like people will be like, "You're a mutant," and he'll be like, "Yeah, I'm a mutant, whatever."
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing. In this series, as far as I know, we just assume Hank's blue because he's a mutant. So
Right.
when he's like, why did this happen to me? You think like, it's because you're a mutant. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about the comic history that he experimented on himself,
Right.
then you're kind of like, well, you did take that drug really
Which seems like
quickly.
it can't be because like you see those younger pictures of him.
Yeah.
So I think maybe in the series they're
continuity,
just skipping
and-
that.
That's always the better way to go, in my opinion. The movies do that too, with Kelsey Grammer version, that he's blue because he's a mutant. Though I guess, no, that's not true, because First Class.
First
they go
Class,
back and
he does the
he experimented on
experimenting.
himself. So, yeah, sometimes when he does that, it's kind of an easy answer why you're like this, Hank.
Yeah,
But
right.
in this one, it's also easy, but it's sadder. It's less your fault now.
Yeah. Well, like it just depends on what kind of conversation you want to be having about the mutation.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the experimentation, then you have like the hubris of science and like all that kind of stuff, which is
Yeah.
another interesting thing. But for the emotional level that we're dealing with here, I think it makes more sense this way.
So George Buza, the voice actor for Hank,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of kills me in some of these scenes because he's so sad in
Yeah.
his delivery.
It's a very different sound from him. Like the voice, the pitch
Yeah,
of it is lower and like it's much less bravado kind of than you get in his voice usually.
When he's saying, I can't be close to any, it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, buddy.
Poor little guy.
Yeah, he sounds so sad.
But like also, I feel like, he puts a lot more on this than he needs to, because he's getting overt affection from this Carly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's taking it on himself to be like, no, I can't allow that for her sake, or because I can never be close to somebody. Like, a lot of it is sort of this self-imposed isolation, I think.
Yeah, it's not, because he says I can't be close to any human. It's like, well, you can, it's just harder. And you also have other friends.
Yeah, like lots of them.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this is a sad situation at this moment. I get like this, you know, the moment happens, you're like, this is forever and it's everything. It's like, well, no, this is a bad day. But
yeah, you're right.
It's a sad time right now for Hank.
Yeah, and like it's just been like really in his face how rejected he is.
Yep. Jean actually makes a good point here, where she says, he's like, you know, I can't be close to Carly, and she's like, well, shouldn't that be Carly's choice?
Yeah, I was really glad she said that, because that's what I was thinking that whole time.
Well, yeah, you're right. That's a good lesson that I will forget at the very end of this episode. But that's later. Let's go to the hospital.
So he's missed the surgery, right? He didn't go. He didn't get to be part of that.
But he will get to be. He's there for them revealing the results.
Right.
And it's funny because no, the dad's not there, but they're like, you can't be here. And what the one, like, orderly?
Orderly, I think so,
like,
yeah.
He kind of has like a, you want me to rough him up a little bit, Doc?
He has like a Sandman vibe to me, you know? Yeah, like he's just got that kind of like weird, thuggish.
Yeah. He's like, do you want me to take care of him?
Yeah.
Basically. He's like, no, he gets to be here. So they take off the blindfold and she can see. It worked.
And the first thing she sees is Beast, and it's so nice. And she says, he's beautiful.
You're beautiful. Aww. And he's like, you knew? And I mean, it's funny because, like, how would she have not known? Your hands have claws.
Yeah.
Every time she touched your face, she'd be like, oh, wait, this is fur.
You have fur on your face.
There's a pretty funny line.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just we might be talking about the same thing, but I like, there's some camaraderie between them all.
Because she says, you're beautiful, and Dr. Bolson is like, what about me? She's like, you're okay.
Yeah.
But why can't you have fur like Hank? He's like, I have a better razor.
Yeah, that was all cute. I liked that.
I like that, the friendship between Bolson and Hank there.
Yeah, I feel like that really successfully captures this like previous relationship that we've not seen until here, but it feels authentic.
But then the dad comes in, and it's just like, well, where were you? If she's so important, buddy, where were you?
Where were you? He bursts in and is a jerk, you know, like he is.
So Beast is like, fine, I'll leave. This is a nice moment, and you're ruining it, but I'm going to leave.
Yeah.
And they have this talk, that him and Bolson have a talk. But then there's another kidnapping. They run in, and she's been kidnapped, which was quick. Because they were able to knock everybody out, kidnap Carly, and graffiti.
Oh, yeah.
No more mutants on the wall. It's like, how long was this... Wow, they must have been like hiding in the closet waiting for Beast to walk out.
Yeah. But they come back and Carly's gone and Beast is mad. So he comes after her dad and is like, if she's hurt, then I'll whatever. And
again, the voice actor gets to do a lot of different stuff in this episode because he gets to be jovial, he gets to be sad, but then he gets to do that like, I am going after Carly.
He gets
help whoever I find. A Beast.
Yeah, he gets a lot.
Yeah. It's funny because later he'll be in the car calling the X-Men. And he's like, there's some like intense driving music, and he's on the phone. He's like, get me the address. So it's really...
He's played by Harrison Ford in the movie.
Yep, that's it. Get off my plane! But Wolverine, cut to Wolverine. He's being so sneaky.
He's being so sneaky. He's like being interviewed.
He's just talking and laughing with Great and Creed.
With Creed.
He's like, and then I punched him right in his face, and the laugh is like, I like your style. He's like,
I love hating mutants. It's so fun.
And then he says, he talks about how he looks familiar to him. He's like, maybe your old man. He's like, oh? He's like, yeah, I was in Kentucky. He's like, oh, no, we were in Canada. He's like, I got you.
I got you.
Wolverine, what? It's just... Yes, I really like this, what we're seeing here with Wolverine, because we always just see him, like, ready to, almost kill somebody, but in this one, he's being
very
so sneaky.
Yeah, and you wonder, because, like, this thing with Creed is, a big deal, and like we know the connections and all of that stuff. So you wonder, like, did he know going in that he was going to needle him about this connection, or was this just like he happened upon the guy and was like, wait a minute?
Sure. Because why wouldn't he say anything from the start when they first dealt with Great and Creed? Because remember, he had to save Jubilee in the two-parter premiere. So,
and he's been the face of the movement this whole time, so he would know.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just this one, like he's sitting here and he's starting to put it together. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been able to figure that out, but he does figure it out there, and he's like, all right.
And that's, I like how that is just like one little seed that he plants there, and then he'll later have another seed, and then it really like emerges. I really like that layering that he does.
But yeah, after Beast gets the address, they come in and
well, Creed's got Carly tied up in like a closet or something.
Yeah, and
I don't really get what he's doing. Like he's trying to get her to tell him something. What is he doing?
I don't know. Creed seems particularly dumb in this episode.
Yeah.
Because like it seemed like the Friends of Humanity were doing things kind of like, it was infuriating, but it was kind of smart the way they set up the X-Men to look.
Yeah, they were being strategic. It was a little bit of like a guerrilla thing where they would like pop in places and like cause damage.
And then they would edit the footage to make it look like the X-Men started it or were attacking law enforcement.
Yeah, and they kind of lose it here.
Yeah, in this one they're like attacking a hospital for the blind and they're kidnapping people, and it seems like this isn't going to do anything for you. You are just going to be the bad guys here in everybody's eyes.
Yeah, they're just like causing havoc for like not any particular reason.
It seems like kind of an IQ drop for Creed and the Brotherhood, or the Friends of Humanity here.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, yeah, I don't know what he, like, I guess he's just going to kill her?
I don't know. And like, why? Just because she associates with Beast?
Wolverine, when he's in the closet, and, he's asking for, he's hiding out, and he's like, I need the projector, and I need you guys to get here. It's more of him being sneaky and calm and stuff, but he says, if you want any of them alive, you better show up fast. And that made me laugh, because I just imagine that as he's being sneaky, he's just simmering.
I know, he's just, like, at any moment, he could just snap and just murder everyone. Yeah,
and it's just the idea that, like, part of me also wants him to lose it and just tear it up, but we don't need that, because when Beast shows up, we get it's all silhouette, and I wonder if that's a ratings thing, but through silhouette, Beast is just tearing these people apart.
Yeah, for real. I love the interplay here, because Beast and Wolverine are doing two completely separate things. Like, and they didn't organize
the opposite of what they would do.
Yeah, you're right.
And I mean, that's the line that Jubilee says when they get there. She says,
oh, that's right, yeah.
She says, Wolverine's using his head and Beast is going berserk? What is happening?
Yeah, it's a cool little flip. I like that a lot. And I also like how they end up like accidentally coordinating, because like Wolverine decides this is the time when he's going to kind of make a move, because he heard somehow, right, about Carly being there. Someone told him that Beast's girlfriend.
When he called the X-Men.
That's right.
He says there's a girl, and he's like, Beast has a girlfriend?
Whoa. Yeah.
But
he goes to get...
He was there already, and then he hears everything, where they are, they hear Beast attacking, and so Wolverine is going in to get the girl, and...
the guards get called away.
Yeah, and so while he's there talking to Creed, Beast shows up and then passes out because of the fighting. But more Wolverine needling Creed. He's like, chip off the old block. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, you filthy mutant.
Yeah. Well, my favorite line in the whole episode is when the guards run off to take care of Beast and leave Wolverine there. And just Wolverine, the line itself isn't as good as the delivery, but he says, looks like my new friends will get to meet some of my old friends. And he's so like delighted. He's like, oh, what a nice thing for them to get to meet each other.
It's so funny. Yeah, I wrote that line down too, because it is the delivery. It's that voice.
Yeah.
That delivery is like, looks like my old friends. It looks like my new friends. It's not just like delight, it's how like he's happy this whole plan is coming together. He's happy that his new friends are really gonna get beat up. Yeah,
it's really funny.
That's a great Wolverine moment there. So yeah, now Wolverine has to carry Beast out and lead Carly out, and then they're gonna get caught, and Creed is like, we're gonna kill all of you, but then again, Cyclops will blast the hole through a wall.
Yep.
Not knowing who's behind there, but then
It's Friends of Humanity. Who cares?
and but Wolverine was planning. He's like, fine, I'll take a few of you with me though.
Yep.
So Wolverine's ready. He's gonna kill some of these guys. But yeah, they use the projector with the file, and Sabretooth shows up, and we find out from the Cerebro that his name is Graydon Creed Sr.
Yes. So we've had a name change for
Yeah,
Sabretooth.
It has to be just for audience simplifying this stuff.
Yeah. So it can be like Senior. That means he's his dad.
Yeah, a kid would understand that more than if it's like Victor Creed. You're like, okay.
Whose son is Graydon. This guy here.
Oh, this guy. His name, and he is. So what does that make them? You know.
And he's from Edmonton, Alberta, where my parents lived for a couple of years.
Oh, well, did
was
they
fun.
know him?
They had met. Yes, they weren't friends, but they were friendly.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this happens, and Creed freaks out. He goes nuts.
You are not my father! You are not my father!
Oh my word. And he's like shooting the image and like,
I am not your son!
whoa. And all of his like buddies are like, what's happening? And they like leave.
Well, yeah, because they're like, Senior? They're almost kind of like kids, I guess. They're like,
Yeah. Like, wait, so if you're Junior.
Yeah. Here's the other thing. I guess it's just kind of like, this wraps up the Friends of Humanity storyline. We don't see them again after this.
Oh, okay.
It seems like I never really had an issue with it. I never thought about it, but watching it this time, I was kind of like, would the Friends of Humanity trust what they're seeing in the first place? Like, they're just hearing a computer that they've never seen say this thing. Like, I don't know.
I think it's mostly Creed's reaction. You know, like,
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
guess
just
that's the
very
thing.
obvious that this is
Creed's-
like a thing.
Yeah, I guess that's because he does say, like, I'm not like him, I hate him.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
even
guess
say
that-
this isn't true. Yeah, he like,
Yeah, I guess Creed, again, could have played it better, but he didn't.
he
But
had
yeah,
a very
that makes
emotional
sense.
reaction.
I guess seeing life today, I don't believe that the Friends of Humanity would break up. They would just kick out Creed.
Yeah, they might find somebody. But if it really was
100% him.
Yeah, like maybe he just really was the driving force and there's
I
not
don't
really an
know.
organization. You know, it's possible. We don't see how big the group is, you know?
Yeah.
It's only ever like 15
guess
guys or
they're-
something.
I guess there weren't stupid apps you could get on with just your bigot friends and share
Yeah.
conspiracies with on it in the 90s, so internet was still young. Yeah, all right. I don't know. There's just something about it. But, I mean, this does deal with it. So Wolverine, technically, solved the Friends of Humanity problem.
He solved it.
Yeah. The dad is useless. Carly's dad is useless because he shows up after all this. He's like, I made it!
Yeah, we don't see him for a second until there.
But Beast showing that he didn't really listen at all to Jean is just like, we can't be together. Carry my love with you. If you love me, know that we must be apart. And it's like, that's not the point of this episode, though.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
at least the Beast story. I guess I thought it seemed like what we were learning is that bigotry is bad.
Uh-huh.
And people who love each other should be together.
Yeah.
And
Well,
but Beast doesn't learn that lesson, and I guess that's true. People don't learn lessons in life, but it seems like narratively in the episode, Beast does a turn that kind of
It
goes
undercuts
against
stuff.
everything
Yeah.
that we've seen.
Yeah, and I think
And
I
Jean's
think
speech.
it's like an expediency thing because I think you're
Yeah.
right. Like narratively within the episode, it would be better if he ended up with Carly. Like obviously, he definitely should. But then if he ends up with Carly, then they have to include her somehow
I mean, that has to be it. You
in
just
future
can't-
episodes. And I think they
Yeah.
just wanted to write her out.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like that kind of hurts the episode in some ways.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a shame because it would have been I think really impactful on that character to be able
Yeah.
to have that experience of like finding a place with a person who cares about you,
Yeah. And
but he just
again,
like chooses to throw it away for no apparent reason.
as Jean said, it's her choice.
Yeah,
I
and she
guess
like
Beast-
clearly wants it, and he's like,
Yeah.
"No, I shall decide for everyone."
But I mean, I guess that's Beast's choice, you know, not to.
That's true. He doesn't have to be
Not
with
to
her
do
if he
that.
doesn't want to.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a bit. I don't buy the resolution at the end, and it feels a bit. I don't know, sloppy.
Yeah, and then you get the thing where like the dad shakes his hand and calls him Dr. McCoy and stuff. And he says,
"This is a beginning.
This is a beginning." And so it's sort of like the end of Lost, where like you think you're going towards one thing, but then the resolution is about sort of something else. Like they focus on the bigotry element, which wasn't really, I don't think, part of Beast's arc. I think that was part of Wolverine's arc in this episode. And Beast's arc was a lot more personal, I think.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense to resolve that storyline separately. But like they have the handshake and it feels like that's the resolution of the episode. And I don't know, it just feels sort of like adjacent to the point.
With the Friends of Humanity, they were set up kind of the same way the Sentinels were set up for season 1, in that they were going to be this long-term villain. And we did see them before, right? Didn't we see them...
The Sentinels or the Friends of Humanity?
The Friends of Humanity. Didn't we see them in the Storm? I want to say the Storm episode.
We've seen them multiple times because they used to wear berets, and I don't think they had berets.
Yeah, but I mean, really, we saw them in that 2-parter, and that was kind of... Oh, and we saw them for Time Fugitives with the virus. So, like, we've seen them, but it does kind of seem like their end is... They're taken care of kind of neatly in an episode that's not about dealing with the Friends of Humanity. It's a Beast story primarily, and it's a Friends of Humanity episode, whereas like the Sentinel episode was like, we are going to take out the Sentinels.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was surprised to hear that this was the last time we see them, because it doesn't feel like, and now we've resolved the Friends of Humanity.
And then we get, because like, there's the Mojo episode next, and then the 2-parter. But the 2-parter is with them fighting Sinister. But Sinister he's been there, but he's been very, like, in the shadows.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like the one who's getting the big 2-part climax is Sinister, who's been just kind of, like, under the scenes.
Yeah.
But the ones who have been there causing problems for the X-Men and dealing with them face-to-face kind of get a side episodes, 3 episodes before the season ends.
Yeah,
so,
that is odd.
It's a different structure than when we just had Sentinels.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's a different... They couldn't do... they talked about how this season had to be less serialized. It had to be more episodic. And then it was also more character-focused. So it's just a different type of season where I guess that necessarily wouldn't play.
Yeah. And I mean, like, depending on how... I haven't seen the last episodes of this season in a while, so depending on how that plays out, I could see that kind of being an interesting structure, to have like the overt threat and then sort of an underlying threat, and then you sideline. You're like done with the overt threat, and then you have to deal with what's been under
like
the surface.
The Friends of Humanity get defeated, but then behind the curtain, there's Sinister's like,
like I could see that working. I could see that working. But we never see him with the Friends of Humanity, do we? Because that would have been interesting if like he was the real threat in that specific situation.
The only interaction he had with them was through Morph interacting with them.
Right, yeah.
In that 2-parter. So I guess we'll see what it's like when we get to those last 2 episodes, the Sinister episodes.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you like the Beast episode?
I did like it. I thought the Wolverine stuff was really excellent. And I like the character stuff with Beast. I think that they interweave those stories pretty well. I liked it a lot more when I didn't realize it was the end of the Friends of Humanity storyline.
Oh, yeah.
But on its own, I think it's really strong.
Yeah, I feel like I've always had a soft spot for this episode, probably just because of, like, those smaller Beast moments.
Yeah.
Why can't I be normal? And, I have a better razor and stuff like that. That stuff just feels very I don't know. Feels like something you would see on a different show as well, like just a hospital drama sometimes.
Yeah, you get a lot of it feels very real and natural and stuff. I think a lot of the kinds of emotions that you deal with Beast could come across very trite very easily. Yeah. But he sells it really well. It doesn't feel like, and this is the one where he feels sorry for himself. Right. It felt pretty authentic.
Yeah, it's not it's funny because like the Wolverine and Gambit episodes, I always kind of like connect together because of how they focus. And then there's the Time Fugitives one. And then these ones don't really have that same kind of like vibe about it.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
We don't see like the origin of Beast or find out that he was part of some secret organization or something. It's just like, Beast is a doctor, but he's also blue.
Yeah, you just like see him because like he was in prison, then he was released from prison, and then I guess he just started being a doctor.
He's lived a life.
Yeah, he's just been living his life. It's interesting what keeps popping into me with these 2 episodes is I read the Marvel superheroes 10 and 11 that deal with Ms. Marvel. And like the second one deals with her losing her powers to Rogue. The first one is her against Sabretooth. And so having Sabretooth be an element in the Beast episode of this, like when you pair those 2 together, it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like you have the Ms. Marvel Rogue episode, and then you have Sabretooth in like the second part of it.
When I first saw this episode, I knew so little about it. Like, this was during my learning phase. So when they said Graydon Creed Sr., I was like, oh, is that his name? So I had to have that corrected for me. And then I was like, oh, but he didn't have a son. I thought he was, like, related to Wolverine in some way. So, like, this was it wasn't super informative for me. It was actually kind of more confusing in some things. But I think these are still 2 strong episodes.
Yeah, good couple of episodes. I liked them.
Another Beast episode will come up where Beast falls in love with the computer. So I guess he's just always...
He's just...
these stories where he falls in love.
He loves. He has a lot of love to give. And then take away.
Hey, you notice Jean hasn't had an episode?
Oh, yeah. Whatever. Nobody wants to deal with poor Jean. I mean, at least she had those really cool, like, Cerebro taking care of her mind situation.
Cyclops doesn't get one either. Oh, you know what? I say that, but then let's not forget Cyclops and Jean had the 2-parter where they got married.
That's true. The 2 of them are sort of a unit, I guess.
Yeah, they don't get their own episodes. Not unless Jean is dead.
They're in love, so... Speaking of Jean...
Speaking
of Jean, the next episode, we're going to be doing the 2019 film Dark Phoenix.
Lord, was that 2019?
2019. That'll be next time, our next episode, before we get back into animated series with Mojo Vision. Yay, I'm so excited about Mojo Vision.
Mojo, he's so fun.
Barf. All right, well, I think that...
He's always like, the drama, the ratings!
Oh, he's so gross. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. What was I talking about before? There was some character that I didn't like because of how, like, gumpy they were, like, all, like, goopy.
Gumpy?
What was I thinking?
Do you just mean Sinister?
No. Well, he's goopy in his own way. But, no. Oh, it was a comic. It was a comic. It was the guy who was controlling people with his, like, tentacles, and he was like, crap, I can't remember. Anyway, it was a previous thing, but I don't like when they have mutants that are just, like, goopy and, like, unpleasant.
But Mojo's an alien.
Yes, all right, but still, he's goopy and gross. Regardless, I don't like looking at it.
Where's my star? I don't need my star. Where's my lunch?
This is too much. Too much Mojo for me.
Oh, he's so funny. Everything about him is funny.
Disagree, Eric. I disagree.
If I was to be any character in the X-verse, it would be Mojo.
Whatever. You would choose Mojo.
He knows what he likes to do.
Out of the entire X-Men universe.
I don't know. He's his own boss.
Okay.
He has never... every day he wakes up, he goes to work with a smile on his face. He's never... You know what?
He's a happy guy.
He's never worked a day in his life.
Because he enjoys what he does.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, well, I think that wraps us up. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. You can find more about this show and others like it at our network's website, radiomeanwhile.com. What was that?
That was me doing the theme song.
You're doing the theme song. It's such a good... I love that theme song, if I do say so myself. Anyway, website is radiomeanwhile.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Previously on X and complain about Eric not being on the show as much, apparently, which is what we get. Please rate, subscribe, or share this show wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ah,